Hey, Tom, can you hear me okay? Hi, Rita, can you hear me okay? Councilor Fackrell, Councilor Smith, did either of you have a hard time getting on?
No,
Did I have a hard time? No.
Okay, looks like that. Okay, just having a little technical glitch here. We'll be right back. Hello, Peter. Why don't you go to Zoom Direct?
Progress.
It shouldn't be, and it's doing that with some people here, so I'm trying to figure
Hey, Chad.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, when I logged in, I had to put in the passcode to put in. I logged in off the website.
What passcode did you use?
Your telephone number.
Yeah, we're having some troubles. It should not be doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna go away.
You
And I'll be
can't put
back.
spaces. You can't put spaces in. You have to just write, you have to write all, I put it in as, the 503 space. And if you do that, it says incorrect passcode. So you have to just put it all in, as a string of 10 numbers.
Got it. Thank you.
Looks like we're still waiting for Brent Warren. Is that right?
Looks like it.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, Mayor. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Please excuse us, Madam Mayor. I think that we're getting rolled up here in a few minutes. In a minute, we should be good to go.
Okay, we're still waiting for Brent as well.
I'm gonna be pulling a little bit of double duty today, just trying to take care of the technology as well. So bear with me. Madam Mayor, Brent should be here any moment.
Okay. I see that Brent is here, so I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting if that's all right with everybody. And Chad, one quick question. Are you able to monitor the raise hand function when we get to the visitors section?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call the January 5th, 2022 Gerhart City Council to order. And visitors, if you would find on the Zoom the raise hand function, or you can email if you'd like to speak under visitors, go ahead and email Chad Sweet at cityofgerhart.com. And is there a declaration of conflict of interest by any members of the city council?
Nope.
Nope, no conflict.
And I have none as well. And I should just mention that Dan Jesse is on vacation and won't be joining us this evening. There's approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 1st. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, might have a correction, but I don't know. On the second, this just might be a problem of my syntax, but on the third page, under city officer reports, under city treasurer, the first line, the second sentence reads, the auditors spend a few days. I think it should be the auditors spent a few days, but that just might be how, like I said, it might be a problem with my syntax. So I'm just putting that out there.
That sounds correct. And I see Justine nodding.
Okay.
Is there a second to approve the minutes with that one correction?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None. And minutes are approved. Moving on to the Planning Commission report. I just have one question, and if there are any other comments from the counselors, but my question is, can you remind me what policy number 3 was or is in the Parks Master Plan? You're muted.
It's been a while. Not off the top of my head, but give me a few moments and we'll have that brought up and I'll explain it.
Thank you. And any other comments by the counselors on the Planning Commission report?
Well, I had the same or similar question that you did, Paulina. I don't know what section 3 is, and specifically it would be nice to know what the specific objections to that policy was.
Yeah, that probably will be in the minutes when that process is completed. We're going to move on for now, but Chad, you can get back to us on that if you I could have looked it up, and I apologize for not doing that. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report, and well, I'm just going to read it. This is kind of a follow-up to the blog I did before Christmas, and I wrote this today. This morning, I found out about the destruction of one of my favorite trees along the historic ridge path. It was a tree that had to bend. It was a tree that one had to bend over a little bit to pass. A natural archway with small ferns growing on top of the bark of the tree. Now, if your stature is only as tall as your mare, that doesn't pose much of a problem, as I only had to nod to walk by. Recently, I wrote a blog post about life in Gerhardt, with its natural beauty and many ways to be outside and exercise, commune with nature, and feel Gerhardt safe. The only feedback I received about that blog post was from a resident who was concerned that my blog post might give some permission to ride bicycles on the ridge path. It turns out he was right. Bicycle prints were indeed observed in the snow on the ridge path by another resident. I have no idea if the two things are related, maybe not. Biking in the snow kind of sounds like fun. Certainly, bicycle riding is very enjoyable in Gerhardt, but please do not choose the ridge path as your bike route. And if you're out bicycling or walking on city property, please leave your chainsaw at home. Let's keep our trees in the riparian zone and our city parks and trails as safe as we are. I've spoken to Chief Bowman and I'm recommending a revision of the signage on the ridge path. We may need to update an ordinance and obviously more education for our public. That's my report for this evening. Councilor reports. Brent Warren.
Well, it has been a very quiet month for me, so I really don't have anything to report other than we had a spectacular quiet Christmas season and minimized social media contact. So that was an added bonus. So raring to go for 2022.
Thank you. Rita.
Well, I've been working on the tree ordinance, so I'm glad that you brought that up. And I've been in contact with the Oregon State Forestry office in Astoria, and I'm meeting with them tomorrow so that they can guide me and inform me of the different avenues at our fingertips. And hopefully they will be able to come and help us with an ordinance regarding urban forestry. So that's where I am.
Thank you for your efforts, Rita.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else then?
Nope.
And Carrie Smith?
All I got to report is I attended a presentation by Gideon. I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name at this time. I didn't write it down, but it was dealing with the fire hall and getting the story out about it. So that is all I've got to report.
Thank you, Carrie. That is our counselors' reports for this evening. City officer reports. Chief Bowman, I believe, said he was not going to be present. I'm sorry, did he submit a report yet? His incident report?
It is on Christie's desk. He put it on there, and so it'll go out when we get that up and running.
Okay, so it's completed, but we don't have it this evening.
Correct.
Okay, and I do know that Chief Bowman will be putting out a blog post with regard to the incident on the Ridge Path, probably tomorrow. Chief Como.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, and Mr. Sweet. For last month, I'll give you kind of a data report for December, and then I have a couple thoughts, and then I'll give you my yearly report right after, if that's all right. So December in 2021, we had 45 calls. December of 2020, we had 35 calls. Last month, 2021, we ended the year on call 660. Last year, December of 2020, we ended on 503. So we were 157 calls ahead of last year. The December call breakdown is as follows. 19 of the calls were inside the city limits. 18 was out in the district. We received or asked for mutual aid 0 times. We sent aid out 8 times. And those 8 times were 4 to Seaside. Once we went to only Woluski. 2 times we went to LC, once for a house fire, once for an MBA, and 1 time we went to Hamlet. It was kind of interesting. Other fact I got today from a dispatch center report. For the dispatch center in 2020 compared to December 2021, for fire calls through our Seaside dispatch center. Now, about 2-3 months ago, they consolidated. So you would think that would kind of account for double the calls, for twice as many. But December 2020, they had 201 calls. With the consolidation, December of 2021, they had 553 calls. And that's just for fire. 175% increase for fire. They had the same increase for police calls. They went from like 1,300 to over 4,000 calls for police after they consolidated. So that's more than double what they thought they're going to get. Everybody's just seeing a huge call increase, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in my year report. A few other things we worked on last month. Now that I'm no longer the interim chief, the next step is to get rid of an interim training officer and hire a permanent training officer. So we started the in-house application process for that, which closes on the 15th of this month. And then we will go through interview panel and whatnot, similar to what I did when I was hired for the training officer in 2017. Last month, something else we did, we submitted a grant to AFG to replace our water tender. It's 27 years old and really out of date, out of standard, and just kind of limping along. If we get fully funded, that's a grant, $558,000 that we put in for. For radio communications, the last 3 months, I've been talking to you about how not very good our radio communications are and countywide, actually. For fire, for county, for police. When we had that big windstorm last weekend, it left a huge burden on us as we were running multiple calls. And at that same time, when we lost power, the repeater went down. So when the repeater goes down, communications is much, much harder. So instead of having us able to talk anywhere in South County and people can hear us, we could only travel a short distance. I had reception, what's called a direct channel, it's a non-repeated channel, from dispatch to my house, but I don't think much past Bud's Campground you could get a hold of dispatch or anything. The repeater went down, the backup repeater wasn't able to be turned on. And so it's just a continued story I've been telling you guys about how our communications is struggling quite a bit. And us as a fire districts and as a county fire board, as well as the county as a whole, we're working on getting that put together, how we can improve that, how we can make it better. The parts are on order to put a 4th repeated set up at Tillamook Head. That'll help a lot. And the next step is to see how else we can increase it from there. That's my report for last month. And I'm going to try to share a screen so I can give you guys a report for the end of year stuff. Are you able to enable that for me, Chad? Maybe. There we go.
There you go.
So 2021, like I said, we had 660 calls. A lot of people like to find out how many's in the district, how many's in the city. 59% was inside city limits, which was 323 of those calls. A lot of people always ask with that, how many are medical calls? Everybody thinks that, we're 80 to 95% medical. Historically, and we know this for a fact because when we report our data to AFG, to submit for grants, we have to break down how many, what type of call we get. And medical calls only account for 48 to 52% of our medical calls. For a call increase, from last year to this year, on the left graph will show a 32% increase. Over the last 6 years, we've had a 60% call increase. The right graph shows you in the year of 2000, we had about 200 calls. And then last year we did on 660. So it shows that trajectory of us just increasing our call volume year to year. Our automatic and mutual aid, out of those 660 calls, we sent auto aid 108 times and we asked for it 12 times. And that's what that left graph will show you there. The right graph is the breakdown of that 108 times we sent mutual aid out. So out of the 108 times that we went out of our 5 district for mutual aid, 79 of those times was to Seaside alone. 6 to Kennedy, 6 Hamlet, and then 3 to Warrenton, and so on and so forth. The far end there, I have our mobilizations conflags there, and I'll discuss that in a little bit. So we sent aid much more obviously than we received it, so we're able to provide that. And those times we received it, like one was for that cottage, that house on Cottage that I talked to you guys about a few months ago. We send aid knowing that we'll get it when we need it just as much from there. The left graph shows our volunteer hours for incidents. So volunteer hours are accumulated in the way of if one fire call takes 1 hour, but 2 volunteer firefighters went, that's counted as 2 volunteer hours. If one fire call takes 2 hours and 3 went, that's 6 volunteer hours. So last year we had almost 10,000 hours for volunteer incident hours. And then this last year in 2021, we had a little over 4,000. With everything being busier and the response load is falling on fewer and fewer key members. I like to add that we have a super strong, very dedicated core group that keeps responding. And this isn't something that's just unique to Gearhart. This is evident that we know countywide. It's just there's much more calls, but it's very taxing on people. And so our response hours are down a little bit, but at the same time, if you look at the right graph, our training hours have almost doubled compared to last year. So we still got volunteers, they're still coming, they're still training. And the core group we have that's responding is just an outstanding group, but we couldn't ask for a better one. And then the last little graph I'm going to show you, the 4 times we were deployed last year, brought in a total revenue of a little over $104,000. Expenses from that was a little over $76,000, and those expenses are vehicle maintenance, things on mobilizations, or even salaries and wages. Mobilizations, I want to remind, it's paying for people on the fire and off the fire, and volunteers are paid staff. For instance, if myself or the training officer gets deployed or backfills here at home, the fire pays for that, and that doesn't come out of the regular city budget. So that's why that number is so high. But also that's a bonus that's one thing that's not coming out of the city budget for that time. In green on the far end on the take home, that's what's kind of left over. What we made for mobilizations last year after all the expenses are taken out. And if there's no questions, that concludes my report for this month.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you guys very much.
Madam Mayor, you're muted.
I don't have any questions right now, but I would like to discuss the breakdown a little bit more of the different types of calls you have in the future sometime, if we could have that conversation.
Yeah, and I can even give that report and stuff. We're gonna do that whole breakdown for exactly what went to where, and I can have that for you hopefully next month.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other comments from the council for Josh?
Nope, not at this time. Thank you.
And moving on, city attorney's report, Mr. Watts.
We had a pretty quiet month this last month. The Shannon Smith litigation is ongoing. There was a short-term rental question as far as reporting that was kind of unique that staff and I have pretty much sorted out at this point. And I think there'll be some opportunities for short-term rental education that that we can do in the future to make sure that everybody understands what the reporting requirements are and things of that nature. We have our elections law training coming up next week that I'm kind of looking forward to because I enjoy elections law. So hopefully other people will be too, as we learn about that process and how the city can and can't interface and how electeds and volunteers can as well. Piggybacking on our fire chief's comments, the volunteer data that he mentioned as far as there being less volunteers isn't just countywide, it's a nationwide issue, and recruitment and retention really have been in the last 2 decades negatively impacted. And so that's not something that anyone in Clatsop County is doing wrong. In fact, Clatsop County is doing really well compared to a lot of other places that are having to go with a professional fire force instead of volunteers. So I want people to understand that's not, the declining numbers are not a reflection on our fire service at all. Our numbers are really good. The other thing that I mentioned too is that a lot of Oregon counties are having difficulty with the radio issues. And I think that there are maybe going to be some statewide efforts, particularly in rural counties, to address those because it certainly is a safety issue for first responders. So hopefully that's something that the legislature will prioritize in the coming year. There's some land use changes that have gone into effect, but fortunately, because of our size, most of them are not going to impact Gearhart. But for the February meeting, I'll have some information on that just so that our planning staff and everyone's really up to date on what we can and can't do and about some of those changes and maybe a little bit about things that could happen in the future as well. Other than that, that's what I've got.
Any questions from the council?
No.
Okay, and my apologies, Miss Justine, I skipped over you, but I have your report right here.
So we are halfway through the fiscal year. On June 30, our June 30th, 2021 audit was submitted to the state on December 28th. So 2 days before the due date. And so Acuity will be sending some reports to us and we'll get those out to the council as soon as we get the hard copies of those. Financially, we're holding really steady. General fund revenues are 24.5% higher compared to last year at this time, which does include some grant funding from the American Rescue Plan, which we didn't have last year. In December, Clatsop County reported that property tax collections were at 91% countywide, which is really good. The majority of collections have already come in, so there shouldn't be any big surprises there. Gearhart's current property tax revenue shows a 2.9% increase, which is anticipated, you know, with the 3% property tax increase cap, so that's good. Fines and forfeitures are significantly less, but that was anticipated because we have a lot fewer scheduled courts and overall citations have been a lot lower this year. Building and plumbing revenue is an area that has decreased from last year. Revenues compared to last year have dropped in both areas by about $51,000. Vacation dwelling revenue is very strong. At this point, it's about $166,000 higher than last year at this time. The pandemic obviously has not affected people coming down here to visit our beautiful community. So overall, the general fund revenue is meeting our budgeted targets. Interest revenue has decreased due to declining investment interest rates. The majority of our money is put into the local government investment pool managed by the state of Oregon. And the monthly distribution yield rate is almost half of what it was last year at this time. So every single interest account we have has decreased compared to last year, even though we have more revenue. Debt service revenue is strong, and we will exceed debt service payments, which will allow for the carryover that we'll need to make that payment before we get our debt service money next year. Fund 30, the water fund revenues are expected with water sale receipts up 10.8% over last year. In the special revenue funds, really the only noteworthy comment is Fund 45 state revenue sharing. And the state revenue beginning fund balance was significantly lower than last year, about $40,000 less. And this was mentioned when we did the budgeting process last spring. We had reduced some expenditures in there, and this fund will continue to see decreased revenues. It's about 47% lower than last year. As far as expenditures, again, they seem to be on target. An appropriation transfer resolution will need to be done to adjust for the newly created position of planning, building, and court assistant. This wasn't a budgeted payroll position in the building department, but there should be adequate appropriations in the general fund to cover the costs to transfer. The police officer salary account is significantly less than last year, but that's due to our current vacancy and the delay in the hiring process timelines. There has been less conflagration mobilization salary paid out this year, and a new account has been added to planning for easement purchases that we did this year. In water, expenditures have been made for the water plan SCADA upgrade, a software upgrade. I don't think we're finished with that, but I think it's moving right along. In Fund 50, there has been expenditures in road repair and maintenance with some small repaving projects around town. And Fund 75, hazard mitigation, has grant fund expenditures for emergency preparedness, as well as to start the approved fuel tank project that Public Works is in the process of doing. So overall, expenditures appear to be within budgeted, targeted, and financially we look like we're on track.
Thank you, Justine. Anyone have any questions right now for Justine?
I had a couple.
Go ahead.
First one, in income, we've got CenturyLink as an income line item, and it's no income so far. What income comes from CenturyLink?
Franchise fee taxes, and different organizations pay franchise fees at different times.
And nobody's made a payment in the first half of the year?
I'll follow up on that. I haven't seen what their payment schedule is, but I can follow up on that, Brent.
Okay, and same payment schedule timing for the rural fire district.
That's in two payments, isn't it, Chip? Does somebody, I think we only, or maybe only one payment, and I think it came like in last February or May.
Correct. It's just, it's usually one payment, and the invoicing is going out, so we should receive that here fairly soon.
Okay. Just curious.
And in regards to your question about the franchise fees that are coming in for, which one?
CenturyLink.
CenturyLink, yeah, that one is typically a little slow.
Just like their internet service.
You're being recorded.
Oh. Well, that's okay. I'm not afraid of retribution. I dumped them years ago, so. Anyhow, I had a question about the easement purchase. We had 2 disbursements dated the same day to purchase an easement. Was that really split in half, or was it a duplicate payment? It's on pages,
Yeah, that has to do with the Banta property, and
Yeah.
we, we have a new person in that department, and she was working with Chad, and they did the distribution and sent it in, and we wrote the check, and the party came and picked it up. And then the calculation was half of what it should have been. And so they
okay.
redid it, and we wrote a check to get them, and they had already picked up the check and taken the check, so we had to write another
Okay.
check.
That explains it totally. Thank you. And last question for tonight on page 34. Looks like Christy got $9,300. Was that a reimbursement of, did she float the city a loan for $9,300 and get reimbursed?
I can answer that. The short answer is yes. Yes, she did. Our city, the check to pay for the city's credit card had not yet cleared, and so the city was up against its credit limit, and there was a payment that was required. And so city staff checked in with me to see what we could do given the circumstances. And so we have a very nice paper trail of me explaining that, yes, and this is not ideal, but in this circumstance, a person can put it on their personal credit card and the city can reimburse them. And that
Okay.
was to make sure that we'd meet a deadline.
All right. It was an unusual circumstance.
It was unusual.
And then in the meantime, Councilor Warren, Justine and we've made some changes to where the system will work a little bit differently, and we shouldn't have to run up into that again.
Okey doke. Thanks for the explanation.
And I think we can move on then. City Administrator's report is in the packet. Chad?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'll just do some highlights here. The building department, again, we've had a little bit of a changeover, and Leonard Brogden is assisting us with our building official duties here at the city of Gearhart. We haven't skipped a beat. Everybody is being served the customer service they need. Building is continuing to go on a little bit slower, but we received some plans here lately, and so things might be picking up again. We're getting ready for spring, summer soon. We're still working on the same state requirements for the new contract having to do with the third-party building official, and Miss Angelina has done a very good job of kind of piecing some things out and going down the list of things that we need to do. And so we're on track to be in compliance with state rules. At new state rules, I will say. We've never been out of compliance, but these are some new things that we need to put into place. We do have a request for proposal coming up online here soon for to look for a new building official within the city of Gearhart. So that should be coming out here very quickly. Public Works, I've got a bit of an update on some of the Public Works things. As some of you may know, there was a water main break on 101 in front of the daycare center there. And that water loss was actually about 300,000 gallons of water. The water main just happened to break underneath a catch basin. So the catch basin took care of all the flooding. It was very hard to find, but they located it. And I've got some pictures here. I wish you can see of what they had to do to get that pipe back in there and done correctly, but it's been fixed. And total shutdown for residents was approximately 6 hours. Just to kind of give you an idea on supplies, the new Public Works truck was ordered on June 3rd, 2021, and that one was already approved by the council and it has not yet been started for build. It's not even in the queue at the moment that we know about, so we're just kind of waiting for that. And that same sort of thing as what's happening with the police vehicles as well. Some good news. One of our public works employees, Stephen, has passed his state exam and is now certified as a water distribution level 1 person. It's a difficult test, a lot of study and prep. And so we're moving forward with our educational plan to have the entire crew certified in distribution 1 by the end of 2022. So that's been an ongoing project that is moving forward. Kind of piggyback on the council funding the upgrade to the water treatment facility computer system, also known as SCADA, controls the water treatment facility. And it looks like it's about 90% finished. There's just a few things and tweaks that we need to do, but we're very happy with that system and the money spent. I'll have to get a total of where we're at with that project right now, but it was at budget. And we should finish that here within the next month and a half. Fuel tanks were ordered and set to arrive sometime in April. The city's been working with some local building and electrical inspectors from the state and the county, and also the state fire marshal and the city fire chief. So Mark has been doing his homework to make sure that those are going to be installed correctly, and we'll let you know more as that project comes forward. The Public Works Department is starting a preventative maintenance program on all of their equipment and things, so you'll see them around town doing some of those. And the council will also be provided a copy of the 2020 water rights compliance and groundwater quality report that we send to the state. And we're required to send this report to Water Resources Division yearly. And City of Gerhardt's doing really well. We're collecting all the data that they need, and our water quality is good and high. There are no issues. Let's see here. ODOT, we're going to be meeting with them here in about a month and a half, meeting with stakeholders on the highway. We're going to be discussing access management with some of the potential changes to Highway 101 down the line. We want to talk about how vehicles get in and out and what changes might be necessary for some of the property owners that are along Highway 101. So we're starting to ferret that out and having those conversations. Playground equipment, we'll talk a little bit about that here later in the meeting, but Parks Master Plan is also on schedule, and this will be something that the planning department will be bringing to the city council next month. In regards to your question, Madam Mayor, item number 3, in that policy was specific to the aquatic zone, the A2 zone, and the parks zoning, and how future aquatic zone restrictions may affect some of the local homeowners. So one of the homeowners noted that the area in question did not include the Little Beach area because it was not within the parks. And so that was the discussion, was what that aquatic zone work looks like. So we clarified some things, and we'll be bringing that to the council here next month to explain more.
Thank you.
A little bit of a fire station update to talk about what Chief Josh was speaking about in regards to some of the numbers and the volunteers. We had a meeting with the Chief Reckman from Cannon Beach, and we're actually looking at writing a grant between 3 departments, Hamlet, Seaside, and Deerheart, to help provide a person, it's called a SAFER grant. And this grant would help with a recruitment and retention kind of officer for a period of time for 4 years. So this would help those 3 fire departments and really the whole entire county with somebody who can help us continue to locate and find and manage the volunteers. So we're excited about that. I'll report more as I know more, but that is a grant that I think that would help Deerheart a lot. We've been meeting quite a bit, going over a lot of the materials with the fire station in regards to maps, images, some of the design and things, and cost estimations. So we're within drafts of that. And we're updating those drafts. And so soon, by the end of this month, we'll begin having some good conversations about the water, or excuse me, about the fire station. We've met with Dr. Gideon, as Councillor Smith mentioned, and it was a very good meeting, kind of helping us to learn how to communicate a little bit differently with this project, and I think it'll be beneficial to us for sure. Hazard mitigation grants assistance program. We submitted another grant. This is separate from what Chief Josh is looking at, and this is for a generator solar panel with batteries for our water system, and it's specifically up at the reservoir so that we can continue to provide service even in power outages. Things are working well now, but we think they could work better. Mechanic and Watershed Council, we're still talking to them about some ideas with grants, and they are looking at submitting a couple invasive species removal grants. I don't have a lot of the details now, but this could be something that would be fun for the residents as well, a potential volunteer aspect to it. So we'll keep you up on that. And because of that $9,000 charge on Christie's card that you saw, that was to finish and complete the purchasing for the mass care cache that we've been having on there. So the final grant reporting is due this month. Now that we purchased everything and researched everything, we're finally done with that project. Now it's just organization and making sure that the supplies stay usable. Let's see, we talked about the AFG grant. That's the firefighters grant from FEMA. We've got some work sessions coming up Wednesday, January 12th. We'll have some more information on that here in a minute at 6:30. And then we still have our March 29th meeting with an agenda yet to be set. That's all that I have at this point, Madam Mayor.
Any questions right now from the council for Chad?
Nope.
Not for me.
Okay, we're going to move on to correspondence, and any comments from the council on any of the correspondence?
Well, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
And it's, of course, it's about the beavers. And as you all know, I've had an ongoing Cold War with the beavers every year, who come in and eat my hedges. But my feeling is this: we all moved to Gearhart to be close to wildlife, and I think that the wildlife was here first, and so I'm just gonna live with the beavers. But I would like to know what the city is going to reply to this person who wrote in and wants the city to do something. I mean, I'm fine with the beavers. Let them eat my hedge. I don't really care. But what's the city going to respond to her?
Thank you, Councillor Fackrell. We have already responded to this one. I'm sorry the response isn't there as well. Of course, the city of Gearhart is not equipped to handle beaver complaints. That's just something that we don't take care of. So what we did is we handed this person off to Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And
Okay.
they have a program. I believe beavers are considered a nuisance animal when they're doing damage to your property, depending on what level of damage that is. And there are abilities for somebody to apply for a trapping permit and hire somebody to take care of that. I'm not sure what the outcome was on this particular issue, but that's what we did.
So where was this bog that she was referring to?
I think this is at the very end of Pacific Way, McCormick Gardens Road.
Oh, okay.
Because
That
they
makes
mentioned,
sense.
yeah, horses and goat fences. We don't have a lot of
Sure.
those in there, and that one was in that direction. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any other comments on any of the correspondence? I do have one. I would like some feedback from the council on this one. And this is the letter from Jenny Hamer. I believe it's actually Wally Hamer, who wrote it. And it's on the 3rd page. And he's requesting another restripe of the east pickleball court, requesting that the council approve it to be changed from 2 pickleball courts to 4. I believe in my discussion with Chad, that would also include turning the courts so that you're hitting the pickleball east and west rather than north and south, which would be different than someone playing tennis in the other court. I asked him to let me find out what the council would like to do. He would like to come and do a presentation about making that change. And I thought I remembered the council saying that we wanted to wait until the parks plan was complete before we made any more changes to tennis, pickleball, etc. So I would like some feedback on any next step, and we'll get back to Mr. Hamer.
Madam
Thank you.
Mayor, in the letter, it says they want to change the west tennis court, not the east. So they want to change the existing tennis court. It's on the 2nd paragraph, 2 lines up from the bottom. Or I guess you could call it 3 lines. We could get 4 courts on the west side of the tennis courts. That's not the east, that's the west side. So that would be restriping of the tennis court that is strictly for tennis at this time. I do recall when we discussed this before that we wanted the master plan in place so that we were aligning ourselves with what they have done as far as laying out the master plan. And I wonder if, is there any way they can contact the school district? Because I know they're keeping the track and field for their athletes. Why can't they approach them and see about turning those tennis courts that are really in need of some work, but could very well give them 8 courts, which would be 64 people playing pickleball.
I may have misread this.
I can clear some of that up for you if you like, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Wally was going to be here tonight, but he's decided to kind of wait. He too does understand that, waiting for the Parks Master Plan to be finished is beneficial to all of us in regards to trying to figure out what we're going to do. The Parks Master Plan is specific about some things, but really it's unspecific also. Things like we'll promote exercise and we'll promote getting people outside, and so that it's more of a filter as well as a direct roadmap, and you'll see that next month. The ideas that they have are many. They've done their research, they've gathered some data, and they're actually asking in the future, they're going to be asking for 4 dedicated pickleball courts, 1 dedicated tennis court is really the outcome that they're looking for. They've got 2 courts currently in pickleball, and it's backed up quite a bit, but they will present you with some information. There's been talk about funding for this. One of the things the city's going to have to do is look at resurfacing that court within the next while, just to maintain it. So there will be an opportunity in the future to potentially do some repainting. But again, they understand that they're waiting for the Parks Master Plan as well. And then they will look at approaching the council, and they may reach out to the mayor in advance just to have some conversations. So that's kind of where they're at now.
And I do want to mention, I did get one other email from another resident who was specifically suggesting repainting the single tennis court to additional pickleball, which I thought was a different than what this one was saying. But I could be a little mixed up on that. So it sounds like we'll table this if with the council's concurrence for a couple of months until we've worked through the parks plan and then invite Mr. Hamer to take up pickleball future in Gerhart with us.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I'd also think that we should look and see, because of what's in the letter, it mentions that a lot of the people who are coming to Gerhart to play are from Cannon Beach, Seaside, Warrenton, and Astoria. And we really ought to be looking at this regionally to see what the other jurisdictions are doing to provide pickleball for their own residents so they don't have to come to Gerhart.
Okay, any other comments?
I'm happy with waiting.
Sorry?
I am happy with waiting for a couple of months.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, we have visitors. Kevin Leahy from Cedar. I haven't seen him on the call yet, but
I'm here,
Chad is-
Mayor. I'm here.
Thank you. Good. I didn't see you on my screen.
Yep, no problem.
So you're going to give us an update with regard to Cedar and what you've accomplished in the last year and your hopes for the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, councilors, everybody on the Zoom screen here. I do have a presentation that I had sent in advance to the council. I will pull it up here and just share it. I want this to be, of course, very interactive. This is an opportunity for me to update council on what Cedar has been doing. And as an overview, I serve as the director of Cedar, of course, Clatsop Economic Development Resources, which is the economic EDC for the entire Clatsop County. The city of Gerhart is a charter member of the Cedar Board, a permanent member. Currently, Mayor Paulina sits on there and Councilor Warren also attends, which we appreciate. And in addition to Cedar, I am the director of the Clatsop Community College Small Business Development Center, which I'll go through more details. The Clatsop Works Paid Internship Program, I'm the director of. I do serve on the cabinet at Clatsop Community College, proudly. I report directly to President Chris Breitmeyer, and I report to the Cedar Board on the Cedar side, so kind of all the hats that I wear. And just to mention, work very closely with the Clatsop Community College Board of Directors. And one of the newest board member is Jody Stahanasek, who is a Gerhart resident, and really appreciate working with her and the other board members to work on our declining enrollment that we have at the college and other challenges that we have. So this was the Cedar 2021 priorities. I'm not going to read through this, but just to hit some of the high points here, where it says working on the American Rescue Plan to ascertain grant opportunities. How that evolved in 2021, everyone, was it really came down to working with Clatsop County on Rescue Act monies that can be spent, have to be spent out by the end of 2024. There's actually dollars allocated, and this is all public record, for small business support. And we're working with the commissioners and with County Manager Boone and Monica Steele on the future of how to look to allocate that best for the small businesses. That's a work in progress. Also work with very closely with Business Oregon. Melanie Olson is our regional development officer. She is one of our key partners, one of my key partners day in and day out. And with the SBA, the Restaurant Revitalization Program that happened in 2021, and other programs, Regional Solutions, part of that advisory committee under the governor's office, the CEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, that is work in progress again annually. That is being summed up from the needs of each of the communities, each of the cities, the county, et cetera. There's a lot of course, funding prioritization needs and work to be the voice of everyone at the table at those meetings. EDA funding, we did finalize COLPAC, the Economic Development District. Arian Colombo is the executive director of that. We did put in a request for capacity funding for CEDAR and for the SBDC, which was approved. And I'll share with how that money is being spent when I share some of the SBDC updates with some of the staff that we've added here this past year. Addressing the labor shortage, it's no secret to anybody. We have a huge labor, housing, labor shortage, and childcare are the big three that and in addition to many other issues, but those are the big three that I continue to work on from the standpoint of the CEDAR side, and working on workforce training, working with programs through Classic Community College, looking at where we have gaps and needs, and the Workforce Investment Board working on funding and prioritizing the Build Back Better, which is question mark right now, but making sure that we're set in terms of what we're requesting for our region on the education side, internships, and again, I'll share information on our Classic Works internships as I get to that slide, as we proceed here. Enterprise Zone, I also do sit as the Enterprise Zone Manager for Clatsop County. And just to mention, in 2021, Bowie Beer and the Schooler Company, that's the fish meal plant that is being built out at the airport. $18,500,000 was approved for that development. And that's very exciting economic development for our county and for our region. And what impacts each city impacts the county and vice versa. Again, just to highlight, COVID-19 committees continued. The COVID-19 committees continue. We have meetings. I have monthly meetings that CEDAR has led for many years. City Manager Sweet's part of this, that we get together via Zoom or in person and discuss, and the other parties that are listed there who attend these meetings. And it's a chance to share best practices, strategies, concerns, updates. Jennifer Purcell from the governor's office attends those, as does Melanie Olson, and find that very, very helpful and productive. I did work with Clatsop County on the Clatsop County Strategic Plan. We're getting into the next phase of that here, and was asked to sit on the city of Warrington. They had a called All in Warrington Economic Development Strategy. They had received some funding from the state on that and worked with the city and the stakeholders on that. Continue to be the economic recovery lead through SBA for our COVID efforts. I'm a member of the Clatsop Forestry Economic Development Committee and have been for years. I'm the vice chair. We did present to the Clatsop County Commissioners in December in a work session, an update, and just one number to share with all of you that the Oregon Department of Forestry harvests from November of 2020 to November of 2021, Clatsop County received $22,944,000 in revenue out of those harvests, which goes to roads, schools, Clatsop Community College, for example, $1.5 million of that. So again, showing the economic driver of that sector. Clatsop Works, again, I'll share more details of that in a few minutes here. We had our annual awards event virtually. It was great. It's always a highlight to showcase our business community throughout the entire county. I serve on the Tourism, North Coast Tourism Network Committee. And finally, and again, probably what's spending a lot of our time right now, the Child Care Advisory Committee. We've had 3 meetings. CEDAR is designated as a primary member. We are working with Commissioner Bangs and Quila are the co-chairs from the county commissioner side. Dan Gaffney, who many of you know, myself and others are part of that, including Skylar Archibald from Sunset Empire Parks District. Trying to find solutions. We're working on the SBDC side, trying to find opportunities for training. And bottom line is, this is a sector that is under siege. There's such huge need, and it's very, very difficult for childcare owners to make money. And we need more, and we need to help our current childcare facilities and businesses be successful. And that's where we need to be working and are working with the federal government, the state government, in terms of incentivizing for parents about what they can afford to pay for childcare, paying the staff, and having the owners and managers of that industry have it be more than just sweat equity. Big, challenging, complex issue, but we are working diligently, and I feel we're making progress on that. This was a CEDAR budget that was approved as of July 1st, this past July 1st. July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And at the top here is the revenue. The county sponsorship, for example, is $70,000 annually. The county contributes through business organ lottery funds. We did sign a 5-year contract, I have at the bottom here, with Clatsop County, their request, which was great, for $70,000 per year for 5 years. The cities, the Port of Astoria, Sunset Empire Transportation, you can see down below here, I talk about the confirmed revenue of Clatsop County, the cities of Astoria, Seaside, Warrenton, Cannon Beach, Sunset Empire Transportation District. Here this evening to talk to the city of Gerhard about reinstating or reconsidering the funding that was not funded for this current year, and have discussion about that, and look at the future, look at this next year that we're working on. We have the Port of Astoria also $1,000 that we have. They're also a permanent member of the CEDAR board. Classic Community College, again, kind of the breakdown here. We're the only center in the state of Oregon on the SBDC side where the EDC director, which I am, a CEDAR director, wear both of those hats. So the Classic Community College cash match, that is a required dollar amount in order to be a small business development center in the state of Oregon. We have 19 centers in the state of Oregon, 17 through the community colleges, 2 universities. That's a requirement. Private sector sponsorship, I've been the director now for over 10 years. We started this about 8 years ago, and so appreciative of the public and private sector contributors. And so we have a conservative plan on our budget, which is at 2019 levels, but just notice that in 2021, the year of COVID, our actual came in at $25,900. We're so appreciative of every dollar that we get. And then the federal and SBDC funding, again, this is SBDC. So the Small Business Administration, because that's, people ask me all the time, well, Kevin, how can you provide free and confidential advising to businesses? A great majority of that is because of this cash match and because of the funding that we do receive from the SBA, the $32,000, and Business Oregon, $72,000. I would like to thank again publicly former Senator Betsy Johnson, where this was in danger of being whacked away from Business Oregon. The governor's budget proposal was to take a 40% decrease, and Senator Johnson, Representative Weber, and many others voted to reinstate and to give the SBDC an additional $1 million statewide on top of the budget. So that's the $104,000. So again, I'm going to keep going here. I know I'm trying to be limited on time here and be very conscious of the time constraints here. This is just, again, a thank you to the private sector members we have throughout the county, their contribution to CEDAR. The SBDC, this is our 2021 update. And I just want to share some updates, some real-time updates, since I did turn in this PowerPoint prior to the holidays. And here's our mission and our vision. But I want to just kind of update some very exciting what has to happen in order to get these numbers. We have to have our business clients, which are all confidential, sign off on a form that states the SBDC helped them to, like capital infusion, for example. We are now up to signed from our business clients. We're now at $1.9 million as of today for 2021 on helping them with their loans and capital infusion. Business starts, this is a very exciting number. This is the best number that we've had in years. Actually, our numbers, I think they'll go higher, but as of today, we have 14 new business starts in Clatsop County. Jobs retained 44. I'm sorry, jobs created 44. Jobs retained 89, and increased sales 2,173,000. And again, I apologize for, I'll update this slide and send it to Chad and to all of you so you have the updated information. The advising, we have served now 253 clients year to date with 1,182 counseling hours. I do want to draw attention that the SBDC currently has 13 active Gerhard clients. I asked my assistant Tammy Lambert to go through and audit our list. Again, our list is confidential unless the businesses give us permission to talk about them, like Linex and Seaside, for example, Bowie Beer and Astoria, etc. We also have 38 Gerhard residents that took 66 of our workshops over the last 3 years, which has just catapulted statewide. If you look down below here on the workshops, 36 this year with 1,200 attendees. Last year, so much during the COVID time, 2020, anything to do with SBA, EIDL loans, etc. We had one workshop in 2020 with 250 attendees that attended in real time. But if you look at this compared to 2019, distance delivery, and Jessica Newhall leads that as our associate director. Maya Freeman is our program development specialist. Very proud of that. That's by the way, that's the highest in the entire state of Oregon. We're a small center. We've had more attendees at Clatsop Community College SBDC than any other center in the state of Oregon, including PCC, Lane, Chemeketa, etc. Staffing changes, we get accredited every 5 years, the SBDC does. And we had a national accreditation, and it was an exceptional success. We have a letter that was sent to my boss, Chris Breitmeyer, and I shared it with the Cedar board, that there was no conditions. They were very pleased with all the great work all 19 centers are doing. Very proud about that. I talk about some of the COLPAC funding and CARES Act funding, how we're spending it, and other funding. We've added a marketing specialist, Jim Mejias. If you are not receiving our newsletter every Monday, please let me know. You should be. I make sure that all counselors and mayors, etc., receive that, and anybody in the audience, or I'm sorry, on the Zoom audience, please let me know. We'll get you added. That's what Jim Mejias does. Ian Reed, he is our small business management program facilitator for our program. He lives in Cannon Beach. Rocio Simmons, Latino business advising, Gerhardt resident. Eric Strongquist, small business management. So very excited, in addition to our team of Jessica Newhall, Maya Freeman, and Hermes Ochoa, and our assistant Tammy Lambert. Our office is here. I'm sitting here in my office tonight, here in the Seaside in South County. We did launch Spanish language courses with more to come for this year, working with that for this year, 2022. And we did start our SBM program November the 17th. And I guess finally here, before I stop to share on the screen here, is our Clatsop Work Paid Internship Program. We're going into our next year, 2022 coming up here. We do share here who our summer host employers are. And I want to give a big thank you to Gerhardt's Coastal Restoration, who has been a very strong supporter of the program, brought in the interns. Chris Corder has actually participated in work sessions that I've facilitated with our school superintendents and shared his input. And it's all about with our private sector partners here. So we are interviewing Ryan Stanley, our coordinator, had left us the end of November. We are in the process right now of interviewing, or we will be interviewing candidates to get that job filled. And I do want to mention finally that I believe, knock on wood, but I'm working with the school superintendents, Oregon Employment Department, that we will have a Clatsop Job and Career Fair this year, 2022. Our plan is working with the Seaside Convention Center. 2 years ago, we were gonna launch it, and that's when Governor Brown shut the state down the night before our Job and Career Fair, literally. And we're working February 23rd is our target date. That's the date open for the convention center. And the schools are getting back to me. We want everybody to be safe, but this is our last one that we had, 85 employers. To give you just some kind of overview, we had 800 students that came through from all 5 county high schools, Ilwaco and Nacelle High School, and the community in the afternoon along with college students. So that's my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council has for me.
Any questions? Paul?
No questions. Kevin, you gave a very thorough report. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And please do, we know that our state revenue sharing funds are decreasing, but when we go to budget next year for sure, please do apply again, and we will work to bring back that funding.
Got it.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
We have no ordinances or resolutions tonight.
Madam
We
Mayor,
Don't you have other correspondence?
we potentially have some other visitors.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. Do you have somebody in the queue?
I do have one here from Michael Ford. Him and I have been going back and forth on email here, so we're not sure. But Michael's here. If
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Chad. And
Michael, if you wouldn't mind just starting with your name and address, please.
yes, this is Michael Horde, and I'm at 13095 Princeton Court, Lake Oswego, 97035. And my question, thank you, first of all, Chad, Council, and Madam Mayor, is just the progress that's been made towards the creation of beach access maps. I wanted to understand how that process is going and when the draft maps will be available for the public review.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. If you'd like, I can answer some of that, or at least talk about it. I think those draft maps are something that I believe will be accomplished. They are in the Parks Master Planning to finish as well. We don't have them on a task list right at the moment, but after the Parks Master Plan is finished here within a couple of months, the task list will come out, and that I believe is one of the items that is on there. So there isn't much in the way of progress at the moment, but it is being considered for sure.
Okay.
And Michael, what I would say, I served on the Parks Master Plan as they were developing their process. The beach approaches are all listed on the document, and to in the future create a visual like a map was certainly discussed, but at this point in time, to my knowledge, it's not on anybody's to-do list, if you will. But it was discussed as something that would be nice for people who are less familiar.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, on October 14th, I was on the call and Carol had asked for some help, and I had volunteered to perhaps help. So so I can still talk to Chad and then also maybe reach out to Carol as well. So, but I appreciate your thoughts and input. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Chad, do we have anybody else then?
You're muted.
Thank you, sir. I think I've got two others here. One of them is Josh Lair, and then I believe the other is the Political Action Committee from the firefighters.
Okay, thank you. Josh, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I will. I think we're going to speak both at the same time. So thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, and City Administration for the opportunity to speak tonight. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Josh Lair, and I am the president of the Volunteer Fire Association.
And
On
your
behalf of the volunteers.
Josh, we're going to need your address real quick if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Thanks.
My address is 1380 12th Avenue in Seaside.
Go ahead.
Moving on behalf of the volunteers, I want to thank you for the support in the past and for your continued support throughout this process. We are aware that you'll be voting soon to place the new Emergency and Resiliency Station bond on the ballot in May. So we're just here to update you on how the volunteers are working towards ensuring that this measure passes. The fire volunteers are forming a political action committee intent on disseminating fact-based information to help push the measure through to approval in May. With that, I am pleased to introduce to you several of my peers who are both amazing EMTs from the fire department. Randy and Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Lair. I'm the president of our political action committee that we're forming, and we're hoping to get up and running here in the next couple weeks when everything federally gets passed. So, yeah.
My name is Randy. I currently serve as the treasurer of the Gerhardt Volunteer Fires Association, and I will serve as the treasurer of the Political Action Committee as well.
Thank you, Randy and Amy. Moving on, increased population throughout the county and specifically the city of Gerhart has led to an increased call volume. For example, on December 24th, Gerhart Fire responded to a call for a patient with difficulty breathing and who was potentially COVID positive. Gerhart crews were on scene with this patient in respiratory stress for over 2 hours before medics, which is our contracted ambulance company for the county, was able to arrive and transport the patient. In this 2-hour time frame, we went through 2 full oxygen bottles and responded to 2 additional calls for service. This instance is not a rarity for our community. Call volume is in countywide, therefore it is hard for ambulance crews to keep up. Medics only runs about 3 to 4 ambulance crews during the day and 2 to 3 during the night. I'd like to mention that medics is severely understaffed. Consequently, fire departments are relied on much more heavily to provide emergency services for extended periods of time. Gerhart's current fire station was built in 1958 when the volunteers ran only 50 calls per year. As Chief Como stated earlier, we ran 660 calls for service in 2021. Since 2015, our call volume has increased by 60%. That's 60% in only 6 years. If we continue on this path, 5 years from now, we are projected to have nearly 1,000 calls. We need facilities to support that high demand. As we addressed before, this is an issue that is being faced by all departments in this county and is something we need to take action on now before a catastrophic event occurs. Again, we'd like to thank you for your support for the Emergency and Resiliency Station and its volunteers. With this bond, we hope to keep Gerhart and its citizens on track to being highly resilient, healthy, and happy. Thank you for your time, and we're happy to try and answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the council?
Not I.
No questions, but just a lot of thank yous for all the work that you do for us.
Yes, thank you for your service.
I totally agree. Thank you, all 3 of you, for your service.
Madam Mayor, I don't see any of their hands raised. I don't see any of their emails, and I have not received any of the texts.
Thank you, Chad. And so now I am going to move on. We have no ordinances or resolutions on our agenda. We have no old business. New business, we have in your packet the city surplus donation request. Chad, you want to explain that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. There is a synopsis on the front page. On the back page, there is a memo from Chief Josh Como. But the shorter version of this is that the city of, and to clarify something as well, the city of Seaside has a water rescue program. They're very well trained. They have a lot of the trainers here locally, and they respond to a lot of calls. They also respond to Gerhart calls as well. Anytime we have somebody in the water, they respond to us in our beaches. With that, our team has raised money and has provided equipment to also begin doing water rescues, and is in the middle of training for that as well. And it is Seaside Fire that is providing that training to the city of Gerhart without cost to us. And it's quite an endeavor. It takes a lot of hours for these volunteers, and it takes a lot of hours from the city of Seaside. So their program, where they have their rescue swimmers on the beach, they usually have a vehicle that they can respond to on the beach and to get off the beach and somewhere else they need to be. Because again, they cover calls in Cannon Beach, Seaside, Gerhart, and even last year they ended up in Warrenton to do a water rescue. What they're asking for is this vehicle, the Durango, to use for their lifeguards, primarily on the beach. The reason I think they're asking for the Durango is it's spent some time on the beach. It's got a little rust to it. It's not the best of vehicles, but it's perfect to be used for something like this for a few more years anyway. The vehicle is capable off-road, and so they thought they would ask the city of Gerhart if we'd be willing to donate it. City staff mulled it over. We worked with Peter Watts about this as well. And both Chief Como and I would like to suggest that we do donate this vehicle rather than put it up for surplus as it will continue to benefit Gearhart in the future as well. There's some details on here about a memorandum of understanding and the gifting of the property. The minimum bid was listed at 1,500. However, we did take that down for now until we can get this question answered with the council. So I wanted to see if you had any questions that I could help you with initially.
Chad, I have a question. What will it take for Gearhart to finish its water certification?
I'm gonna see if Josh is available on that to give us an update. But I know there's been some challenges with that.
Yeah, there has been quite a few challenges, able to put people in training situations, and COVID did have a big impact on getting groups together. Doing that, we have 3 certifications we're working on finishing up. There's surface, surf, and then our RWC stuff. We have the training. We're working on task books so we can get final checkoffs done, and they'll be certified. We hope by middle of this year that we will be certified in doing that.
Thank you.
And I believe the pool closure had a little bit to do with that for a period of
Yes.
time as well, as far as
Yes.
swimming goes. And RWC is Rescue Watercraft. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
So it's up to the council at this point, if they'd like to make a recommended motion of donating the Dodge Durango to the city of, or to Seaside Fire and Water Rescue Program.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that we approve donating the 2002 Dodge Durango to the Seaside Fire and Water Rescue Program.
I
I'll
said,
second.
Surplus
Go
property.
ahead.
Okay, I think Brent Warren beat Rita Fackrell.
for once.
Darn.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. And I hope they can put that Durango to, well, you'd hope it would be very little use, right? And it just sits on the beach.
Sure, be involved in some training.
Next item on the agenda is the park funds request for playground equipment purchase. And this is a big packet in your packet. And I would love to hear council make a motion to approve the purchase before the price goes up.
I move that we make the purchase as suggested in the report.
I second.
It's been firsted and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Rita, you are muted. Okay,
Thumbs up.
give us a thumbs up. She's still muted. And those opposed? And there are 4 yes votes, so that passes unanimously. And finally, on our agenda, we have a discussion about the election law training workshop. And I believe that's for the January 12th at 6:30, I believe. Chad, did you have more or?
No, I
Peter?
think Peter touched upon it earlier. Peter, did you have anything you wanted to add about the class?
Just, I hope everyone's ready for next week. We're going to get through a bunch of materials, but we're going to do it efficiently. And I would encourage members of the public to attend as well, just so some of these rules are counterintuitive, and it's always best when people understand elections and how funds can and can't be spent. So the feedback I've gotten in the past has been positive, so hopefully that trend will continue.
It's going to be by Zoom, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that was my question. And anything else, Chad, on that?
Nothing more on that. I'll have some of the, we're going to invite some of the firefighters as well so that they understand. And I agree with Peter, the more public there, the better. So we'll look at getting that out there for some advertisement.
Okay. Council concerns, Carrie Smith
I don't have any concerns at this time.
and Rita
I have no concerns either, Mayor.
and Brent.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I
move.
move we adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None. We are adjourned.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
folks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.